We can't hear you on your end. On our end. On our end.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Shane Jenkins here for another episode of Liberty's Cage. I will not be joined today by my wonderful co-host, Sarah McAbee. She is traveling at this time. Hopefully, I can get the guys in studio to bring up Robert Morris, one of my esteemed colleagues from the January 6th movement. He has a very interesting story. Um, I look forward to sharing that story with you. He's a young man that I spent quite a bit amount of time with in the DC jail. Just reading the word. He's a wonderful young man, an Army Ranger, school teacher, served 3 tours in Afghanistan, but I'm sure he will get into all of that. I can't see the clock either. And from Ron Konkama, can anybody show me a clock? I was not informed that I would be doing the show by myself today until just a little bit earlier. I guess this is a good time to get into one of our sponsors. If you guys are watching the show and you want to support some Patriots and help support us, they are one of our sponsors for the show. There's a website called sugarcreekgoods.com. If you will go there and you use promo code Shane, I know one of my friends took some of the insect repellents from Sugar Creek Goods. They took it to Fredericksburg to help with the search and rescue in Fredericksburg, Texas, when the flooding around 4th of July happened. And they absolutely love the insect repellent. I have many of the bars of soap here with me. They smell wonderful. They've been out here for a couple of weeks, but they still smell absolutely wonderful. And they have the Freedom Bar, which is amazing. You get a 15% discount if you use promo code Shane. We hope that you will go check out Sugar Creek Goods. They're owned by a family, I believe. The lady is a postal worker, but she wants to do this full time. And so if you guys buy enough products, she can stop working for the postal service and start making soap full time. And it would be a blessing to us because it helps us fund this show. So I hear Joe the Box had Jenny Cudd and Gary McBride at the studio last week, the America First Warehouse. If I had to guess, they had a wonderful time. I cannot see how much time we have, guys. Can you guys give me a heads up on that? Okay. Also, Robert Morse is trying to call in, but he said the link is not working for the show. So I'm going to send him that link. Um, Let me see here. Oh, no. Let's see here. Okay. I just sent him the link. So if y'all would be looking for him to come. Okay, there you go. The clock is up. We've been having some technical difficulties. My microphone is not working. And I was not prepared to do the show alone. So a lot going on in the world. I guess the GDP grew at a 3% rate as opposed to what the expected was. And so now it looks like the pressure is going to be, we got Rob Morris. So it looks like the pressure is going to be on Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates. I'm curious to see how that goes. There's my brother, Robert Morris. Welcome
Yo, what's up, man?
welcome to Liberty's Cage. We're kind of informal today. We're winging it, but which is
I like it.
not completely abnormal. So
That's fine. It's good to see you, brother. I got
yeah,
my J6 POW flag behind me here.
there you go. That's what's up.
Repping it, dude.
So I just want to kind of, I want you to introduce yourself to the audience. For those of the audience that may not have heard your story, you have a very interesting, compelling story. I would love to just kind of give you the floor and let you run with it. We're going to have to go to commercial break at, when the clock on the left, the small one ticks down, we're going to have to go to
Yeah.
commercial break, but the floor is yours, man.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you. Well, oh, man, where to begin? I mean, I left home in Reno, Nevada at 17 to join the Army. I walked away from the crystal clear blue waters of Lake Tahoe and, where the deer and the antelope roam, man, to go serve our nation's our military. And that was based off of me watching 9/11 when I was in the third grade, you
Mm.
know, and we were told some certain things that I don't think are panning out very well nowadays, you know? So, but
Weapons
it
of
was
mass
wild.
destruction. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's crazy because you know, my entire life I have wanted to dedicate it to service and serving the community in some form or fashion. And I joined the Army because of how many amazing men and women had already sacrificed to let me inherit the freedoms of our Constitution that are blessed to the population of America, not by man but by God. They're unalienable rights, and I didn't just want to inherit them, I wanted to earn them, you know. So my motives for wanting to serve weren't solely based on what I saw when I was in the third grade on 9/11. You know, I was raised in a Christian conservative household where service is essentially the linchpin of not just our faith, but it's a way of life. You know, Jesus Christ says he is the way, the truth, and the life. And he's a servant leader. You know, he came to serve, not be served. That's why he rode in on an ass, as opposed to this, you know, mighty horse, you know, right before he was about to be crucified. So, anyways, long story short, I become a ranger. I deployed to Afghanistan 3 times. But on my first combat deployment of 3, as I walked through the mystic sands of Afghanistan, I realized that the wasteland that I'm walking through can follow me home to America if the next generation didn't know how to keep this republic. And it was like the pillar of fate fell on me, man. I realized that I would have more of an impact as a high school history teacher than a soldier. I also saw a little bit of the war games that are played, not just within the special operations community, but just within the military as a whole. You know, as I was joining the Army originally, one of my uncles who fought in Vietnam, he was a ranger in Vietnam, told me to obtain as much training as possible to become as much of an asset to the military as possible so they don't toss away your life and not think twice about it.
Well, that's what
Which
I kind of wanted to ask you if you just went into the Army regular and then you saw the opportunity to go Ranger, or that was kind of your motivating factor, was to train up as much as you could and be an asset.
Yeah, well, he had given me that advice before I had ever shipped off to basic training, but my initial goal was to be airborne. I wanted to be in the 173rd Airborne, based in Italy. I thought that would have been, you know, the coolest life to live ever, you know. And
Yeah.
a buddy of mine did do that we grew
Yeah.
up together with, so I'm super jealous of him. His name is Brendan Price. He's about to have a child in October. It's a beautiful
All
thing.
right.
But no, I was in basic training and I had orders to go to the 82nd Airborne, which is not as exciting, but just as honorable, if not more so. But out of the 400 men that were a part of our basic training company, maybe less than that because the attrition rate was pretty high. Let's call it 350. There were 8 Ranger contracts up for grabs. And because of my expert marksmanship and ability to run long distances with, you know, long endurance, I was able to earn one of the opportunities to become a ranger. So I didn't go to my unit and then try out for rangers. My unit was 2nd Ranger Battalion.
Mm.
I went from basic to airborne school to RASP.
Okay.
And then I graduated from the Ranger Assessment Selection Program in April. I was deploying in July. So it was a fast turnaround. I had my
90 days or
19th,
so.
yeah, I had my 19th birthday in Afghanistan, and my 20th. And so I was brought into that world at a fairly young age. You know, the Greeks and the Romans, they started out their youth in warfare pretty young. You know, and one of the things that I actually admire about the Romans is that if you were to hold any kind of office, whether it be a senator or any of the kind of consuls or anything like that, you had to have not just seen battle, but you have had to have led men into battle. What a requirement for the government, huh? So
I like that. Yeah.
I wish that was the case, man. You know, it
Yeah.
would have made a lot more sense for how many times our nation's leaders have voted for war when they knew they wouldn't have to touch the violence or see a lick of combat, you know. So
or send their kids into it, for that
or
matter.
send their kids into it. Yeah. I mean, and I don't really want to get into like the conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but after what I've seen of Afghanistan and the absence of weapon of mass destructions, but you know, kind of learning just the underbelly of the military industrial complex and stuff, I definitely don't trust the Bushes. Definitely don't trust the Cheneys, you know. So like when Dick Cheney endorses Kamala Harris in the 2024 election, I'm like, dude, that made the decision so much more clear if it needed to be at all, you know.
I don't think that did any good for her. I think that probably were like, people were like, wait a second, he endorsed her? Like, I'm definitely
You're like, wait,
I'm out.
what?
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah. And like, even if you're on the fence, you're like, oh, maybe they mean well. But Dick Cheney, I remember watching an interview with Jordan Peterson, and Robert F. Kennedy was on there, and he said that they consider Dick Cheney to be like Darth Vader, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's not a far cry comparison. But yeah, so I become a Ranger, and I decide that, you know, I'm not going to re-enlist. I wanted to go to college. I used my GI Bill, and got out of the Army. Was honorably discharged in 2015, and then moved from Nevada to Pennsylvania.
All right, let's pick up with Pennsylvania right when we come back. We're about to have to go to commercial break.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Shane Jenkins. This is Liberty's Cage. We'll be back in just a few moments with more from the captivating story of Robert Morris. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go to sugarcreekgoods.com, promo code Shane. There you go.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com.
Good morning. It's me, Joe the Box, wearing my Border 911 hat signed by Tom Holman, Rodney Scott, and Sarah Carter. The country has had enough. The American Horror Story is over. Border 911. Tom Holman is coming through. My brother's son, my friends' children. We're done with it. 100,000 lost lives every single year. God bless you, Tom.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Your host today, Sarah McAbee, has the day off. I have a special guest with me, Robert Morse, a friend of mine from the DC Gulag. We spent many, many months in the DC jail together. And he was just picking up on his story. He moved back to Pennsylvania after the military, right?
That's right. That's right. So now that I've moved from Nevada to Pennsylvania, I'm loving it. And my freshman year kicked off at the exact same time that Donald Trump's first campaign for president kicked off. So it was wild, man. I was in from then, and I was a part of a club, the only club on campus to endorse Donald Trump for president. The Republican club on campus wouldn't do it, so we made our own. We called it the Bull Moose Party. They made me their chief. And days before the election, we built a wooden wall around the American flag on Old Main at Penn State as a political demonstration. We called it the Free Speech Wall. And we discussed the reasons why we were voting for Donald Trump, and it was cool because it was peaceful. No one got in any fights. No one got sucked into a lobster trap, nothing like that happened. And it was cool because the people walked away from that event saying that those are the most respectful Trump supporters I'd ever met. And that was the point, is to win people over, to let them know that, we're not who the media, plays us to be.
Right.
But fast forward 4 years, I graduate in December 19th, 2020. And it's in the middle of the whole pandemic thing kicking off. So I didn't get a graduation. But the Legion that I hear you're going to be visiting very soon was kind enough to host a graduation party for me, which was really cool. And the backdrop for my speech was the 20-foot wide mural that I painted for them on their 100th anniversary. It was really cool. Yeah. Beautiful stuff. I think you can find that mural at thegreatwarsmural.godaddy.com, GoDaddySites.com, whatever. But anyways, had I not been in Pennsylvania, I don't think I would have driven to January 6th the way that I did. And I don't even know that I would have gone had it not been for Donald Trump saying, I'm going to be there. But he only did that a week out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't his rally. It was Ali Alexander's deal, which no one talks about.
Where is Ali Alexander?
He didn't do time with us. I'll tell you what, though. I hate to plug my book, but we name drop him a couple times in One Question Remains, where everything that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys were charged with, Ali Alexander actually did.
Right.
He actually planned the sedition. He actually planned a conspiracy. He actually planned to storm the Capitol. And he's on record saying that we need to burn the building down. He's on video saying that. So I'm thinking, whoa, if anybody should have been locked up for this stuff, it should have been him, not the guy who had a Lego set of the Capitol, for funsies,
And that book is One Question Remains. It's on Amazon. It's written by Robert Morse and Kelly Meggs.
Yes. We wrote it in prison.
Okay. Yeah. For January 6th.
That's right. We smuggled it out of prison. It's available on Amazon now. Yeah, it's a good read. It doesn't just break down how that day was a lobster trap. It's also loaded with historical context. So, for example, the readers will learn probably for the first time that Donald Trump was not the first presidential candidate to contest an election all the way up to January 6th, where, as it says in our Constitution, in order for the presidential election to be officially called, it requires a joint session of Congress. So it's all fair in love and war until Congress comes together and says, this is the president. That's within their powers, as stated within the Constitution. So this wasn't the first time that we've had a presidential race drag on or claim that the election was rigged. This is how it goes here in America, because there have been a lot of stolen elections in the past. And as a matter of fact, John F. Kennedy stole the primary in 1960. The mafia helped him do it. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that after you start to peel back the layers, which we offer in One Question Remains, you realize, wow, the media is banking on the American public being young, dumb, and afraid to get away with the coup that they almost got away with. But yeah, the One Question Remains also has plenty of quotes from our founding fathers in addition to scripture. so that you understand that if you're on our team, the Make America Great Again team, you're also on God's team.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So check out the book. One Question Remains, Robert Morris, Kelly Meggs. So you said you were in Pennsylvania, and did you drive down to January 6th alone, or?
Well, I guess we could talk about that stuff now, right? You know?
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess we can admit that. I did not go alone. And it's actually kind of cool. So one of the first weddings I've been to now since being freed was the wedding of a guy that I went to January 6th with. Now,
Okay.
I went to January 6th with two individuals. One turned his back on me and worked with the FBI to collect evidence on me,
Right.
and is an absolute coward and a traitor. But the other one, who told the FBI to go F themselves, that's the guy who I went to the wedding of. You know,
Okay.
so
That's good, yeah.
when they try to recruit him, he turned them down and flipped them off and said, "I know what you're up to." So you can bet your ass I went to his wedding, you know?
Right. Were you in the wedding, or like?
I was not. I was
Okay.
not. I mean, they didn't know if I was going to be out or not in time, you know, which is
Okay.
fair. But I was honored to be invited and
Yeah.
be included,
Sure.
because it was actually a part of a men's Bible study where I
Okay.
met this individual in the first place. So the men's Bible study showed up, and
Right.
at first they didn't recognize me because my hair is a lot longer since the last time they saw me.
Right.
But once they heard my voice, oh my gosh, it's Rob. And they came and hugged me, and they said, "We've been
Right.
praying for you for years." It was really powerful, man.
Funny story. The guy who notified me that the FBI was looking for me, he has like a degenerative hip condition, and he's having some marital problems and kind of depressed a little bit. But I got to go see him in Kansas, I guess,
Oh, cool.
2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
it was really good to see him. I played online like Call of Duty with him for like the last 20 years that I was free, you know.
Yeah.
And never met him in person. Never met his wife or
Are you
kids or anything.
serious?
Yeah, I know his voice. We play online all the time, but I
That's
finally got to
hilarious.
go. I got to go meet him, pray over his family. It was a really, really good time, good experience. So, but yeah, so you had friends, no names, January 6th. And so,
Right.
I mean, you can get into as much detail as you want, or just kind of go into the aftermath, or whatever you want to talk about. This is
I
your
will say this, because what day is it? Wednesday. So Monday, man, this is a good story.
Mm.
On Monday, I accepted the call from God to go reconcile with one of my old friends.
Mm.
I had a buddy of mine who, for a good year and a half, would answer my calls, send me mail, things like this, and then disappears.
Mm.
And it hurt my heart because he was one of the few friends that I knew, if anybody was going to ride this out with me, it was going to be him.
Mhm.
And then to lose him, man, it was devastating.
Yeah.
But
While you were in jail, you mean?
yes, while I was incarcerated. Yeah. You know, because a lot of our friends and family turned their back on us after this.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I just kept thinking about him. I've been praying about him, you know, and God kept putting his face in my mind for like the last 6 months.
Mhm.
And I got to thinking, you know what? Let me find out where he works. Come to find out, he works 10 minutes down the road from my mother's house.
Okay.
And that was like the last indicator from God. I'm like, okay, I need to go see him. Well, come to find out, I pull up on him. And after, you know, we said hi and everything, he says, "Do you know that I'm only in the office one day out of the week, and it's on Monday? And do you
wow.
also know that I was 3 minutes away from leaving the office for good for the entire day when you showed up?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You made
It's
it.
so cool. Yeah. But, you know, he was in the restroom when I arrived, and he walked out of the restroom and he saw me and it looked like he saw a ghost.
Mm.
But I stood up and we shook hands and we hugged. And one of the first things he said was, "I missed you, man."
Mm. Yeah.
And that was cool. That was powerful. And he admitted that he lost his mother while I was incarcerated.
Mm.
His wife got cancer while I was incarcerated.
Oh, man.
And he ended up getting to the point, and he's admitting that, you know, he kind of started to resent me because I wasn't there. And
Yeah.
for the first time in his life, when he needed me, I was gone.
Yeah.
And that broke him. And that was kind of the impetus for this divide to go between us.
Mhm.
And yet, because of God's grace, we're buddies again. And we got our first back.
Well, people, I'm glad to hear that, man. Praise God. People don't understand, like, And maybe it's an opinion. Maybe you were kind of looking at yourself only, like, well, you've kind of abandoned me. You didn't. There's no way you could have known that those things happened to him.
Right.
But this is something, and this show is about justice reform, and it's not surprising. Like whether you're involved in a political case or not, like typically people like you'd be surprised how many people who you could hang out with every day on the streets, and then you go to jail and they just fall away. Whether it's could be your girlfriend, it could be your wife, it could be best friends, it could be, and then there could be people that are really kind of on the periphery of your friend circle that end up stepping up and really
Right.
becoming a good friend and being a good friend to you. And it's like, well, I
Right.
never imagined this happening. So,
Right. Well, the interesting thing, I want to interject here too, and correct me if you haven't experienced this, but I think you have. A lot of people have confronted me with this idea that they had in their head that I show up to this random rally and in my hands I have two options. I have one option on the left that says I can go home, I can enjoy my life as it was with my friends, with my family, with my girlfriend. Everything's calm and peaceful and the way it should have been.
Mm.
Or I can go up those steps, get in a fight with the cops, and ruin my life. And somehow I chose, the latter instead of the former choice,
right.
which I've heard in the heads of a lot of these people that I've re-met after incarceration, that they have said that, you chose this and why would you sacrifice that? And I've had to correct these individuals. And this is like a wide spectrum of people from across the country. We didn't have a choice.
Right.
We walked up there and we were watching women getting beat, kids getting shot at, people dying left and right, cheeks getting blown out, blood on the floor, screaming. I told my buddy on Monday that, dude, there were people playing the bagpipes on January 6th.
We got to go to commercial break, Rob. We'll be right back with more from Liberty's Cage. I'm Shane Jenkins, your host.
Corrupt judges, broken families, families torn apart. This is injustice. If you've been wronged by the system, join us. Don't stand alone. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. The justice system in the United States should be transparent, fair, and open to everybody and accessible. Unfortunately, many times that's not the case. At Americans for Legal Reform, we are here to help. Join the movement. Visit AmericansForLegalReform.com and help reform the system before it fails you.
Hi, my name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangela. Please check my art at www.megalangela.vip.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
It's Tuesday here at the America First Warehouse. I am Joe the Box.
And I'm John the Blanket.
Freddie Rubino here from the America First Warehouse, coming to you live, the most patriotic venue in the land.
Welcome to Right for America.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve?
Fighting! Welcome to Tune In Tuesday of the Patriots Podcast, live streaming every Tuesday night at 7:30.
Another edition of On the Right Side here, and you can catch us weekly, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
And welcome to Liberty's Cage, where we rip the veil off America's broken justice system. Prisons that crush spirits,
courts that bend to power, and a society that shuns people who have paid their price.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kevin Downey Jr. podcast. Be free, stay free.
Yeah.
Heard that before.
Welcome back, everybody. Shane Jenkins, your solo host today. Sarah McAbee has the day off, or she's traveling, or she's kind of a big deal, and I'm not. I'm stuck in the studio. I'm blessed to have my brother Rob Morris with me, Army Ranger, school teacher, and he was just getting into the juicy details of what happened on January 6th. So, Rob, take us away, man.
Thanks. Yeah, well, like I was saying before the commercial, dude, there were bagpipes playing, on January 6th. That's what people don't understand is like we didn't just bum rush the Capitol because we thought it was like a fun thing to do on a frozen Wednesday or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, there were cops shooting kids. There were old ladies getting shield bashed in the face completely unprovoked. You had people on megaphones saying, "This is it, Patriots. It's now or never. If you don't do something, you're going to lose your country forever."
Right.
And then in addition to that, too, with the biggest bar fight you'd ever seen in your entire life taking place in front of your eyes, there's even drummer boys marching back and forth, like rattling the drum like it's a Revolutionary War battle. So it was just the most crazy stimuli that anybody could ever have, intercepted, and there was no way you couldn't do nothing.
Right.
It was like you were emotionally overridden. And in addition to that, too, something that I've kind of put together, the veteran community and most likely the former police officer community, most of which is what we did time with, over January 6th. I think they were chemically activated as well because of the chemical irritants that the police officers were using is very similar, if not the exact same, to what every single member of the military had to endure when they went through infantry school. So if you had any of these war fighters or anybody, I know the Marines are different and the Navy's different, but anybody that was in the Army who had any kind of training that went through infantry school like I did at Fort Benning, you have to go through what's known as the gas chamber. And I know that every military has their own version of this. In basic training, you have to go into a gas chamber with CS gas. It's poisonous gas. But you walk in there with, your mask on. But you can feel this fume like mosquito bites all over your skin. It's just making you go nuts. Yeah, it's burning, but it's burning from within. And then while you're inside, the drill sergeants tell you, now take your mask off. And it was crazy because some of these kids didn't want to take their mask off. And so what would happen was the drill sergeants would, boom, punch them in the gut, rip that thing off, dude. Oh, yeah. And now you think you can handle it. You think maybe mentally I can keep my reaction at bay. But then they tell you, scream the infantryman's creed. And then now all those fumes are like invading your throat like a hand down your esophagus. And that poisonous flame now just is injected into your bloodstream. It's igniting your lungs. Your eyes feel like you're popping out your head. Your nose is producing so much mucus that the entire lifespan is coming out right then and there. And so it kind of leaves a mark on your head. Well, I had to go through the gas chamber twice because somehow in the midst of all this, you can't see, you can't breathe, your hearing's gone, you're panicking, your body is just not reacting well to anything. Now they tell you you have to leave with your body and your uniform positioned in a certain way. Well, as I hit the door, as I panically ran out of the room, I racked my hip, which had my my CS gas mask pouch, so it flipped to the other side. Well, my drill sergeant grabs me and sends me back into the gas chamber for a second time. Yeah. And there's a really horrific picture of me where snot is literally hanging out of my face for like 3 feet down my face. I'm not even joking. Yeah, it's bad. But the point of that story was the cops were using the exact same chemical irritants against the crowd. So anybody that's gone through the gas chamber like I have instantly panics because there's somewhere in your brain when they feel that, when your brain detects that kind of stimuli, it panics and it goes into fight or flight mode. And so you had all these men that were thinking one thing that were now thinking another because of the fumes they were breathing, let alone the screams and the cries and the battle that was going on around you.
I had never thought about that because in prison, in riots or in fights or whatever, you're getting sprayed. And that is something I never thought about, the high level of tension or reaction, like bodily, just naturally.
That connects.
Yeah, your brain's like, oh, this is time. Because I was pepper
Exactly.
sprayed 4 times and hit from behind with the baton by the DC police before I ever took action. Like, obviously, when I was hit from behind, found
Right.
out that Abbott was killed. Like, there's a number of things that escalated
That
in my
transpired.
mind.
Yeah.
Not to mention the stolen election and all that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the pandemic and everything. We were already hot, man. We
Yeah.
were already pissed off.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you had all of those other layers of stimuli, and it's like,
Right.
well, no kidding, you're going to get into a
Yeah.
fight. No, yeah, like it's
It
a
didn't take
no-brainer
much.
at that point. If anything, they ought to be impressed that we held ourselves back as much as we did, which I'm of the opinion that Almighty God was involved, because not one person drew their firearm that they may or may not have had on their person
Right.
in January 6th. And that could have happened too. And so there was a lot of things that God was in the midst of, and
Except for Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who shot an unarmed woman, veteran.
right.
inside the
That was
Capitol.
insane. That was absolutely insane. And that would have been a moment where people would have shot back, because we're taking fire at that point in time. That's contact.
Yeah, equal or lesser force. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the thing, is like you've got the chemical level to consider too now, not just the screams and the blood and the violence. Now on a chemical level, people are starting to react.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, we went through prison together. We went through jail together. We fight tooth and nail to survive. Now what? I've said on numerous occasions that January 6th is not going to be the last or coolest thing that I do. The last hardest thing or coolest thing. It's going to be something that is going to be at the end of a long rap sheet of accomplishments and success.
You can't
because-
just skim right over Northern Neck Regional Jail and the DC.
You're
jail.
right. Well, okay.
Going to get a pass
you're
on
right.
that?
Well, this ties into what I'm trying to say. So
Okay.
one of the things, obviously, we talked about the book that Kelly and I wrote. I got a
Mhm.
second book coming out.
Mm.
And essentially the demand was, see, now I can say I'm an author, which is crazy, but
Right.
the demand is that I only give myself 3 paragraphs in that whole book about my personal experience. I'm talking about historical events from page 1 to 200 in that book.
Mm.
But I don't talk about me, which was by design, because there's bigger things going on than me. But because so many people have demanded, well, I want to know what it was like behind bars. I want to know what it was like while you were in prison. I'm thinking, okay, I'll give it to you. So for the last 2 months, I've been cataloging 41 short stories
Mm.
that are no more than 5 pages long, where you can read a short little story about what happened while I was locked up. And most of these stories happen in Northern Neck, because
Mm.
I was in that building for 13 months straight, enduring that hell there.
Mm.
And, to kind of dovetail Northern Neck into what I'm doing next, a lot of learning happened there. And you'd think that would be something that's like the last, occurrence that would take place in the middle of the violence and the starvation and the deprivation.
Right.
But you'd be surprised, because, and as you read the Bible, a lot of these individuals who were brought low ended up becoming very wise and powerful leaders because of the depths that God brought them through.
Mhm.
And so I equate the passage, not just through prison, but especially through Northern Neck, to the underworld journey, which is a part of the overall hero's journey.
Mhm.
And as it goes, which is a mythic story told all around the globe, regardless of where you end up, whether it be like some tribal island nation or, somewhere in the steppe, people tell a story of the hero's journey, where either the hero volunteers or is abducted into the journey. They're taken into the underworld,
Mm.
and this hero has to fight through the underworld. There's different phases, there's different challenges, there's different opponents that the hero must face.
Mhm.
But while they're going through the underworld, they come across a golden fleece or the Nordic runes or the chalice or whatever it be, and they obtain this object and then bring it with them to the surface world
Mm.
once the underworld journey is complete. This item being exactly what the surface world needs for revitalization, thus completing the hero's journey. And I know that that's what happened while I was locked up. And so This second book is a part of that hero's journey, explaining the dialogue that I had with other inmates, explaining the lessons that I learned, cute little stories where while I was using my painter trustee powers to paint in the middle of the night, I would take DJ Rodriguez's glasses and paint over the lenses in the middle of the night. So when he woke up, he couldn't see out of his glasses, like little things like that, cute little stories that you never would have known had it not been for something like this. And we all have stories like that. We all have little pranks and little fights and little moments where we grew up while we were locked up. And I would encourage every January 6er to write their version of their stories, because if you think about it, and if we can steer history in the right direction, as has been given to us with the terrible gift of this January 6th debacle, these stories are going to be remembered like Anne Frank's diaries, dude.
Yeah.
Because the atrocity that happened with us can never be repeated on American soil.
No, for sure. And I like the breakdown of that. I didn't realize, you think about the story of Joseph in the Bible and all the things he went through.
Yes.
He through God, set the Israelites free, took them, but that is the hero's journey. I never really thought about that.
It is.
So hopefully, and I think we all, I think most of, I have seen many of my brothers from the DC Gulag and other places grow, like seeing them be free now. It's been difficult. They have new challenges that they're having to face, but I haven't seen anybody say, I wouldn't go through that again, or I don't think I learned anything. I think it's been a valuable, I don't think it was time wasted. I will say that.
Right.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we're going to be, chewing on this for the rest of our lives. And I think it's honestly going to be a gift that keeps on giving. And our enemies made a mistake by locking us up, because now we'll become the monsters that they will fear.
Yeah. They played their hand too hard. We'll be back with more from Robert Morris. I'm your host, Shane Jenkins. This is Liberty's Cage.
Who broke the television? Can we laugh at that? Sounds a little mean.
As of this month, public gay sex will now be mandatory.
Parties. Am I the only one that can see his lips move? Cheekbones, baby.
I'm sorry, maybe I overreacted.
Corporate transfer, fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
Welcome, everybody, to the Not So Newlywed Show, where three couples are going to compete for really great prizes. Okay, Donna, we asked Mike, who complained first on your honeymoon, you or him?
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think he said.
Lisa, this ain't the SATs. Just tell us what. Donna, who complained first on the honeymoon?
I'm sure it was me, but I have no idea.
Donna is right.
No, it's always me.
What celebrity would you pick for a one-day pass?
For me?
Yeah, for you, not for him.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon! Wow! Who do you hate the most on her side? That rotten no.
There's so many choices.
Thank you all, and thank you for coming out.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see.
Welcome back, everyone. Shane Jenkins here, your host of Liberty's Cage. Again, Sarah McAbee has the day off. I wish I knew what that was like. I have a special friend and guest, Robert Morris. He's been sharing his January 6th story and some of the things he's working on. We kind of want to get into what's going to go on moving forward. So,
yeah. Well, thank you, Shane. I'll tell you this. We've been given a terrible gift. And I think that our lives look, feel, and sound like the parable that Jesus gives of the talents, where though we suffered a little while, like it says in 1 Peter chapter 5, we can do whatever we want with this. We can shape the nation in God's image should we choose. And I think if we obey the lies of the enemy that says we'll be nothing more than a prisoner, then so be it. But if we obey the invitation to adventure from our Lord and Savior, we can make good on the pardon forever.
That's right.
And so that's the point. So I think that what I'm afraid of is burying my talent. And it's not going to be something that I'm going to do. I don't have the guts to do that. And I don't mind being a fool for Christ like Paul was. And so what I have done is I've started a production company, a film production company in Texas. And we're hiring Christians. We're only accepting donations from Christians. It's going to be Christian from top to bottom. We're going to glorify Christ and what he has done and try to retake one of those mountaintops, which is, the media and whatnot from the enemy. For too long, Hollywood has had supremacy over what our kids and what young men are looking at and using as a lens to see life through. And it's dishonest, it's disgusting, and it's got to go. And but it won't go unless there's an alternative to tune into. And I know that there are alternatives out there, Angel Studios and The Chosen and things like this. But the team that I've assembled has found stories that are true, and they're based off of men and women that are American that have done incredible deeds against ridiculous odds. And that is going to be the stories that we tell, not just to honor Christ, but to give an example for young men and women to say, you know what? I don't need to be like these disgusting rappers to fit in and be heard. I don't need to be like these sports people that are really just overpaid entertainers. I can be like that woman, that man right there. These people that were willing to fight tooth and nail for something that was bigger than themselves. And so, over the break, we were talking about, our country kind of going to hell in a handbasket and how to save it. And I think it's due to education. And so what is fun for me to recite in my head whenever I hear the lies of the enemy that'll never amount to anything, I'm going to say, you know what? You should have just left me alone then, because I would, at one point in time in my life, I was okay with being a humble high school history teacher. Now I'm going to do something that puts me in millions of classrooms across the country, if not the planet. The joke's on you. So that's the game plan. And I'm excited about that. God has blessed me with a story that I had written the script of while I was incarcerated. So that's going to become a motion picture very soon. And I can't say too much because I'm under a non-disclosure agreement about it all. But I'm not talking, dude. Yeah. Well, hey, you gotta feather the nest, baby. Noah didn't wait for rain to build his ark.
Right. Well, I think you kind of touched on something that I've been thinking about. Like, I'm not a podcaster. I'm an oil field guy, roofing salesman. I don't do fundraising. I don't run a nonprofit, but I am walking in those things, and it's a challenge. But when I got out, I kept trying to get back to my normal, like my old life. And I feel like that I just recently realized that I feel like I was the Israelites when they were in the desert, wandering around eating manna, and they were like, they're eating steak and potatoes in Egypt. We might be slaves, but I'm eating good in there. This is not really filling. and they were grumbling and they wanted to go back to captivity. And I kind of feel like that's where my mind is at, was like, I wanted to go back to captivity,
right,
to my old life, instead of like trusting where God has taken me. I feel like I'm looking at Jesus and he's walking on the water and he's like, Shane, do you trust me? Like, step out of the boat. Like, I know this is the desert. You don't know where you're going. You're following this cloud of smoke. You don't know what's going on. And that's how I feel. Like, I don't know where this is going.
Right.
But I'm just trusting God to guide my steps in my path.
Yes.
And that's like, I feel like you can either be scared and stay under this porch, you know,
bury your talent.
Yeah, bury your talent, or you can get out here and get on the battlefield and try to
war.
Try to go to war, try to fight for what's right, what you believe in, for justice reform, to make sure
yeah.
this never happens to anybody else, and to just
Right.
get the word out, be an alternative source of media. And so I think it's important that as men that we lead and we walk in these uncertain waters that we don't know what's going on necessarily.
Yes.
Like, I feel like you have a pretty clear cut path, but I mean, that's a very deep vision that you have. Mine is more like, I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other and trust God's going to guide my steps. But
Well, I'll tell you what, in addition to what you said about the Israelites, something that really haunts me when I think about it is every single one of those Israelites that watched the Red Sea get parted, none of them made it into the Promised Land.
Yeah.
And it was actually the next generation that was allowed in, not the old. The one that had seen all the miracles wasn't allowed to enter because they still wouldn't believe. And so now we have to ask ourselves, which Israelite are we? Are we the one that's going to see all these fantastic miracles and say, you know what, God, you didn't show off enough?
Right.
Or are we going to be the Israelite that says, God, I want to show up for you.
Right.
And I trust you. So, you know, there's 2 water crossings in the Bible. Everyone talks about Moses, parting the Red Sea, but not enough people talk about when Joshua crossed the Jordan and God held back those waters. Now, the difference between the 2 water crossings is that all Moses had to do was, you know, it was Aaron really that slammed the staff in there and the waters parted, and then people entered. But God says, you're on the edge of the Promised Land. I want to know you're for real one last time. If you step into the water, then I will hold it back.
No.
And so Joshua, being one of the few scouts that came back from the Promised Land and said, hey, we can take these guys. I don't care that we're grasshoppers to them. We can take them.
Yeah.
Him and Caleb were the only 2 people that came back and said, we got this, man. And everyone that doubted was wiped out. But Joshua inherits the throne of Moses and says, I will step into the water. I will trust my maker. I will get my foot wet in the trust and the faith that this water will be held back so the Jordan can be crossed, and we will slay everybody that's in the Promised Land that shouldn't, because that's my land. God told me so. And if we were to have that same attitude about the second water crossing, we would make America great again.
That's right. That's a good story. I like it.
Oh, yeah. Want to live it.
So what, you got the movie production going? What else do you have going on? What else? I know you're doing other things. So give us a little insight.
So movie production, book writing. I'm traveling all over the country doing speeches.
Okay.
So in August, it's going to be nuts. I'm going to be in Nevada. I'm going to be in Texas. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to be in Utah. I'm going to be...
Oh, yeah, Utah.
Yeah, I'm going to be all over, man. It's going to be crazy. And then September's just the same, you know? So I kind of have to get used to this life on the road. But I will say that I'm hoping to be officially moved to Texas by October.
Okay.
So Pennsylvania will not be my state of operations any longer. I'll be officially moved, you know, and finding a permanent address. And then, you know, we'll see. Maybe I need to plan a wedding or something, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
So
are you going to get a Texas ID or what?
I'm going to have to, dude. Yeah.
We've got to get involved in the local, like, Texas government, because they are a hot mess down here.
They're on the brink.
No, they're on the brink. We're like on the tipping point, one way or the other. They really need us to get active down here.
We can do that.
I got to sit down with Peyton K. Jackson.
Okay.
Wonderful African-American woman running for the Texas 33rd. She's going to have to primary it's going to be a challenging primary for her against a guy who's been running as a Republican for a while, but she's carrying.
Hey, sign me up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think you'll enjoy it. They need us here though. Absolutely.
well, I didn't go to Texas and kick my boots up. I showed up to Texas to put them on and stand for something. So
That's
let's
right.
do this.
As for me, I'm going to Texas.
Right. That's right. I love it.
So I appreciate you coming on. I hear there's been some, I hear you declared war on me for Sugar Creek Goods commercials. So I've got to get these other commercials released. Again, that's sugarcreekgoods.com, promo code Shane. So we're trying to beat Rob at selling more soap than him. And you're supporting a wonderful company who hires Americans. And we're trying to make that a full-time job for them. But sugarcreekgoods.com, promo code Shane, not promo code Rob, because we're trying to sell more soaps than him.
Oh man, that's war, bro. That shot's fired, and this isn't fair because I'm your guest on your show.
Oh, it's promo code Liberty. Actually, on this show, I forgot promo code Liberty. Sugar Creek Goods promo code Liberty. Sorry.
Hey, when we get promo code Lego, man, I'm gonna stomp you with that.
I just want to say thank you to Don and Donna. Shout out to the used car salesman of January 6th, Kelly Meggs. He always gives us, him and Rob were roommates for a while, so he always gives us the dirt on how Rob took 3-hour showers to get his.
Hey, and if Sugar Creek Goods can get, hair recovery serum, Kelly Meggs needs a lot of it. Also, he can use that Ozempic and a CPAP machine and a titanium belt to hold back his blubber, and maybe a butt plug because his farts can kill 1,000 men.
Well, we're thankful for everybody who tuned in to Liberty's Cage today. Thank you, Rob, for coming on and being a guest, man. You stood in the gap for me today, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, America's First Warehouse. Thank you, Sugar Creek Goods. Again, sugarcreekgoods.com, promo code Shane. We'll see y'all next week. God bless y'all.